Today, South Korea reporting that North Korea fired 2 suspected short-range missiles today. These would be the second launches by this regime in the past 5 days, and the third since talks between President Trump and Kim Jong-un collapsed in February. The president addressing the reported launches a short time ago from the White House. Watch.
We're looking at it very seriously right now. They were smaller missiles, short-range missiles. Nobody's happy about it. But we're taking a good look, and we'll see. We'll see. The relationship continues, but we'll see what happens. I know they want to negotiate. They're talking about negotiating, but I don't think they're ready to negotiate.
I want to bring in Congressman Mark Green, member of the Homeland Security Committee and decorated Army veteran, military veteran. Great to see you today. Let's start with the president's words. Absolutely. We're taking a good look. What are we doing?
I'm sure that the intel is looking at what exactly was fired, and it does look like it was a short-range missile. It's also very important to look at what didn't happen as well, not just what happened, but what didn't happen. He didn't fire intercontinental ballistic missiles. There were no devices. This does appear to be saber-rattling, but obviously we got to dig into the data and find out exactly what happened before we complete the assessment.
Earlier, we got reaction from former Governor Bill Richardson, U.S. ambassador to the UN at one point in his career as well, who's been to North Korea many times. I want to get your expert opinion, and first let's get his.
They're going to keep ramping this up, maybe one a week. Hopefully they won't violate a pledge of nuclear long range. If they do, I think the president is going to have to be very, very careful. I just hope the president doesn't keep saying, Kim Jong-un is with me, I'm with him. Just cool down. Let the negotiators do the talking. And
you say what?
I like the president's approach. It's very Reagan-esque. He's going after a relationship with Kim Jong-un. Clearly, he's a young leader of a nation, and the president's doing very much like Reagan did with Gorbachev. Reagan walked out in Reykjavik and then worked on his relationship with Mikhail Gorbachev, and that worked, along with other things. What was going on in USSR at the time, et cetera. That all had an impact, but Reagan chose a relationship. And I think that's what President Trump is doing, and I believe it's the effective way to get with Kim Jong-un and get to an agreement.
We also saw a situation, and our reporter was just telling us about it, a North Korean cargo vessel connected to sanctions violations seized by the U.S. government. Look, is there an uptick in this, and what is at stake?
No, honestly, Harris, I just think we're enforcing the sanctions. You can't have a rule that you're unwilling to enforce and it really be a rule. So these are international sanctions. We're just enforcing the sanctions. That's all that's happened here.
And when you look at going forward and the president saying that they are talking, and you compared it to Gorbachev and Reagan, which is interesting, that relationship had boundaries. This relationship has to have boundaries too.
There's no doubt about that, and I think that Kim Jong-un is respecting those right now anyway. Like I said earlier, you kind of got to look at not only what he did, but what he didn't do, and so these are short-range missiles. The Defense Ministry of Japan even said this is not a threat, this is not a security threat to us. Okay. I thought that was very reassuring, so it's just sort of a wait-and-see approach right now.
Congressman Green, tell me if I'm overblowing this, but when I look at bad actors or potential bad actors, they seem to have something in common, and that is how they feel about us. And so you've got China, a delegation here trying to negotiate trade and their whole humanitarian history, so on and so forth, and the pressure that we're putting on their economy. They have a coziness with North Korea.
Sure. It is something that we have to be careful about, because every time we go to China to ask them to help us with North Korea, we don't get to ask China about, intellectual property theft or, their actions in the South China Sea. So there's an opportunity cost there. We do have to be careful and mindful of that. But I think this incident is really about restarting the negotiations with Kim Jong-un, because President Trump's negotiator was actually in South Korea when those missiles fired. The timeliness of that suggests to me that this is really saber-rattling to get the talks going again.
That's fascinating, too. Attention-getting. Representative Green, thank you for joining me today.
Harris.